Good morning. It's Thursday morning. It's a beautiful morning in San Diego. We're so excited to be here. I have Krystal Brandt with me. And if you don't know, there's so many new people in this group. I'm Nicole Lombardo, co-founder of Get It Done Gals. And we are so excited to have Krystal today. We're going to be chatting about transformational coaching. We're going to talk about having a life of not having to escape from, That's really, really important as we are all business owners and entrepreneurs, and things get a little crazy at times. So Krystal Brandt is someone that I met in the fall, and this gorgeous, beautiful girl with this amazing smile and energy. And I immediately wanted to connect with her. And so I'm so happy to have you here, Krystal. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yay. All right. So you guys, Krystal is a transformation coach, and she helps high achieving women to create a life they don't need a vacation from, which is amazing. We're going to dive into that a little bit. And today we're going to be talking about feminine and masculine energy. And Krystal's going to break this down for us so we know exactly what that means. And what Krystal and I had chatted about prior to this is that she has noticed that a lot of women are running their businesses in a masculine energy, and that's depleting them. So we're going to tackle that today, send you away with some good action steps, and then also Krystal's going to give you some business tips as well. So let's dive in.
Let's do this.
All right. So I would love to hear more about your journey to becoming a transformation coach. I, was not familiar with that term until, in the more recent months or years, So I would love to have you explain what brought you into this journey of becoming a transformation coach, and how you started your business, and what the essence of your business is.
Oh my gosh, would love to. So let's flash back about 8 years or so. Excuse me. So I actually started in corporate IT. So right out of college, it's actually about 9 years. Right out of college, I was looking for jobs. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do for, I had a business management degree, ended up applying to like Forbes top 5 places to start a career. And sure enough, one of them got back to me. It was Accenture, big, huge consulting firm, global consulting firm. I go in for the interview. They're like, okay, so we have our systems integration and technology positions open. I'm like, no. I want to do the management consulting. They're like, well, this is all we have. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going into IT. Cool. Well, flash forward then about 7 years later, I was a senior business analyst, project manager, doing amazing. I mean, I was really good at that work. I was amazing at it. And as us high achievers, basically we can pick up anything and we can run with it, right? And then the scale tipped towards this actually doesn't light me up anymore. Something shifted. And what shifted was I went through a huge experience. It was my spiritual awakening. It was an awakening on all levels with my family. There was a family illness, and I was the cornerstone of my family. I was carrying the weight. I was a parent to my parents. I was a parent to my sisters, making all the decisions. And after all of that went down, I realized that I was getting sick from carrying all the weight of that. So I was physically sick in my body because of other people's decisions, and also this unsaid responsibility that I took on that I chose, but I didn't know that I could choose any different. And so that took me to Bali. There's a whole story there, but my intuition drew me to Bali. And in Bali, I decided to resign from my job. I knew that I needed something different than what I was doing. And so I came back, and my whole life had shifted. I'm like, what in the world? And I had actually gotten clear that coaching was an interest of mine and that I was quite good at it. Turns out I was doing it my whole life, but I just didn't know what to call it that. Life coaching just, it's a pretty new industry. It's only about 10, 15 years old. And so I had started my business right before Bali. And then once I quit my job, I downsized my life. I started traveling for a while and building my business, which looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Worth it though. Definitely worth it. I learned so much. And so, the moment when I realized coaching was for me, it was actually, I was sitting across from my therapist at the time going through that whole experience with my family. And I just looked at her, I'm like, I really like what you do. And I have no interest in going back to school, like at all. I have no interest in doing that whole thing. And she's like, well, there's always life coaching. I'm like, life coaching? She's like, yeah, I'm a life coach too. I'm like, what? I didn't even know that. What does that mean? So I started to learn of the dynamics of coaching being taking someone's life from good to incredible, like really leveraging into that optimal living and optimal life. And that just lit my heart on fire because I was doing so much work internally that started to reflect externally in my life. So the more I worked in here, the more I saw the benefits out here. I'm like, well, I would love to play that role on another, powerful woman's journey to optimal living herself. And so the transformation piece for transformation coaching is really allowing a sacred, safe space between us to allow that transformation, that death and rebirth process to happen over time. And because I've done so much work internally, I've invested upwards of $60,000 in my own personal coaching, right? I give that directly to my clients and it completely accelerates the process. They're able to do leaps and bounds. And I always say this, I'm like, you're going to get to where you're going to go no matter what. Like, I know, like it's in your character. There's no way that you're not going to create this dream into reality. And we can do it so much more potent, so much more powerful, and so much faster alongside with someone that's really done this work before.
That's beautiful. I love that you give that scenario of really, hey, I'm not just here to tell you what to do. I've done it. I feel it. I feel that emotion, and to help you accelerate that journey yourself. And I love that you say that, hey, I know that because you're here, you can achieve that. You will achieve that at some point. That's
no doubt.
beautiful.
Yeah. And from my own journey, it's like, well, I was able to accomplish so much without that direct guidance necessarily for optimal living. But the minute I decided to step in to that next level of me that was calling me forward with the right people that I was intuitively aligned to is for my own guidance and coaching, right? The people that I was hiring.
Mm-hmm.
I have been able to create more in the shortest time span. I mean, literally the past 4 years, it's like been 6 lifetimes in the past 4 years, right? So many iterations of me, so much growth, so much acceleration, and doing it in community, which is so beautiful what you've created here for all these amazing women. Because in those moments where your stuff comes up and you're looking at the next day, you're like, I don't know how it's going to happen. This is the moment. There were so many moments where I'm like, this is the moment. This is the moment where 80% of entrepreneurs have quit, right? This is it. And if I didn't have my soul sisters around me to see me through that moment, you better believe I probably wouldn't have quit, but it would have taken me longer, right, to get through that storm had they not seen me through. Which is why community is so important, especially in entrepreneurship.
I agree. There's a lot of stuff that came up in there. One, I have, I'm very in tune with my intuition and listening to that. And that has guided me in my life and my business and really getting quiet and listening to that. And stepping through, sometimes you have the fear and you have to just go, okay, I address the fear, I see it here, and I'm going to do it anyway. When you were going through this period in time where there's the storm, how did you know it was the right move? How were you able to really address that it was, okay, this is my intuition, I feel this? And was it reaching out to your soul sisters and really like, okay, I need to talk to somebody about this? Let's help someone who may not understand what that really looks like or means, or hasn't really had to do that in their business yet.
Totally.
Let's break that down a little bit, if you don't mind.
Totally. I would love to. So I want to just say this first. There are schools of thought that believe, which I am in that school, that entrepreneurship is the greatest spiritual journey you can ever go on. It is the biggest mirror for all the hidden ways that we keep ourselves small, that we keep ourselves hidden, that we don't allow ourselves to bring the gifts forward that we're meant to bring, the pure reason why we're walking this planet right now, our contribution. And so with that mindset in the back running, when I'm facing those obstacles that feel so impossible, I remember that this work is not only shifting my life trajectory, my ability to stand in that tension and cry my face off if I need to in order to get to that next moment of feeling all the shame or the anger or the disappointment, whatever that is. My ability to hold that tension and be there, like really be present to all of it instead of escaping by going to a movie or eating or, escaping through Netflix or some way. Like if I'm able to really be in that moment, I know that I will benefit for years to come from that just shift. It's just in a moment that you hold it long enough and things start to shift. And I also know that, I have a rather like spiritual flavor on the work that I do because I've seen it's right for me. Also, I know that by doing that work in that moment, I'm also healing my lineage 7 generations backward and 7 generations forward. So those moments of tension that I'm working through that I've adopted from my family or I took on as an identity that's dying hard in that moment, that's sending ripples out into other generations, that feels so profound. And that gets me out of my own head. That makes it about someone else instead of about me. When I'm in that it's all about me place, I gridlock, I get stuck. So to answer your question directly, in that moment, I know about myself that I'm an external processor. I know that I need to talk things through for them to make sense, right? There are moments where I go inside and do some, shifting and Tetris things, right? And then come back out and share. But most of the time I know that I need to talk it through. And I know exactly those people in my life that I can reach out to and say, hey, I need 10, 15, maybe an hour, 10, 15 minutes, maybe an hour to just say all the things. And I'm going to sound ridiculous. And I know I don't actually believe these things, but I need the space to just get them out. And what that does is get the energy moving, because especially as high achieving women, our default is to figure it out myself, do it alone, hide until we're pretty and smiley again. And we come back out. And in those moments where I'm in that turmoil, the exact medicine that heals it fastest is to actually reach out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it is hard
it is so hard
as entrepreneurs, as women, to ask for that help. And I think that's having Facebook groups and communities and even local communities is so nice, because the more you talk to people and connect with people, you're never alone. Someone's always been through something you're going through.
Totally.
There's nothing new under the sun, I guess, right?
Totally.
So there's no reason to suffer by yourself, and you can get to a solution or come to some sort of resolve a lot faster. As women, I think that talking it out, most of us want to talk it out and kind of reason it through. So, I think it is so important to have groups of people and I want to say masterminds, but mentors, coaches, your soul sisters, colleagues, someone that you trust that's been there before and can really give you sound advice, rather than going to friends who have no idea. They're still in a 9-to-5 and have no idea why you're even an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
And having that trusted group of people can really support you through. They've been there. They've done it.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, and it also helps you stay in your fullness. So the reason I say it that way is because I call myself a recovering perfectionist and a recovering people pleaser.
I've never heard that before. I love that.
Yeah, I made it up one day and it really is so true. And it's like, in the recovery, it's like a daily practice to still come forward and say the things that are true for me. And so as people pleasers, we tend to, especially as women, we're just conditioned this way. It's not our fault. It's just the way that we were brought up. We're conditioned to stay small to fit in and not rock the boat, right? So if we're surrounded by people who don't get what we're doing, we're going to shrink our problems. We're going to shrink our energy. We're going to shrink our success to fit into that group so that we don't stand out and therefore make other people uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
We take that personally. So that's why creating core community around you that really gets what you're doing, that is walking their talk too, that's out in the world wanting to make a difference in a real way, that allows you to stay in the fullness of your energy. If we're talking about energy, it's like we have these energy containers, right? So we have this threshold for what we're able to, you know, withstand in our lives and what we're able to receive, what we're able to give. If we're shrinking down, right, that limits the amount of money we can bring in, that limits the amount of friends we can have, that limits how much joy we can have and satisfaction in what we're doing, and it just shrinks. And all of a sudden we're like trying to fit ourselves in this teeny little container in order to fit in to make other people happy. Well, if, you know, flash forward 90 years when you're on your deathbed or whatever you are, it's like, are you going to be happy that you lived your life shrunk down, or do you want to be in the fullness of what you're here to do, right? So the bigger your energy can be around other big energy people who are here to do really big things too, the better, because then we get to play in that fullness. We get to come forward even more.
That's a beautiful analogy. I love that. Yeah. All right, let's transition into this masculine and feminine energy since we're talking about energy.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So what I noticed from my own journey was that I was in constant doing mode. You know, you hear that phrase of we're not human doings, we're human beings. But we forgot. And we think that it's so normal, because it is, to be in the doing, striving, achieving, going, overgiving to everyone else except ourselves. Like we have it's not even on our radar to give to ourselves the amount of love and energy and time and money and all of the other resources to ourselves. We're so conditioned to give it to everyone else. And so that had me examine in my own personal journey of, okay, well, if overgiving to everyone else in my world led me to being sick, I'm like, well, that's not how I want to spend the rest of my life. And let me explain sick. So for me, I had chronic migraines for a year and a half. I had chronic digestive issues. My insides were all inflamed because my outer world, my environment was also inflamed. It was stressful. And the more that I kept myself going, I literally avoided being by myself, because then I actually had to feel something. And it was so insurmountable. It felt so overwhelming that, well, I might as well hit up another happy hour, or I'll, you know, go have a fling with this guy on the weekend, right? Or like drink too much. It was just anything to diffuse the tension and the stress I was feeling in my life, but I wasn't conscious to it. I didn't know it was happening. And so it got to the point where I honestly, my body needed to ground me through those illnesses. It was trying to get my attention. I'm like, you know, miss the flag, whatever. It's like we get so many flags along the way, and it's just ignore. And so I just got to the point of like, okay, well, something's imbalanced. Something's not right. I'm 26 years old and I feel like I'm 80. You know, this was before. And so I went in this inner journey of understanding that I needed to slow down. And what I found was that in the slowdown, there was so much pleasure that I was missing out on. And so if masculine energy is doing, striving, achieving, penetrating forward, achieving the goal, then the feminine energy is inward. It's quieter. It's softer. It's intuitive. It's meditative. It's connective, right? So the longer that we are in pure doing mode, we're literally leaving half of ourselves behind. And that half of ourselves, she knows how to create more ease. She knows how to make intuitive decisions. so that it's not so exhausting to go through the linear processes over and over and over and over again, trying to justify your decision. But what about the yes? When it's a yes, say yes, right? And that takes a lot of courage. So the masculine energy is the doing, feminine energy is the receiving. And here's the thing, we need both. So in nothing that I have said, did I say that masculine energy is bad?
Correct.
That is so necessary. We need masculine energy. If I didn't have masculine energy, I wouldn't know how to like make breakfast in the morning. I wouldn't know how to drive my car. I wouldn't know how to make client calls, right? It's very necessary. And it's in the imbalance of having so much masculine energy running. It's not enough feminine energy, almost next to zero. That's where we start getting imbalances. Our bodies break down. We start losing polarity in our romantic relationships. We start creating separation from friendships because we're not even present long enough to be with ourselves, let alone other people, right? And so it's not actual giving if we're not also receiving our own love too.
And so what would you say the first step if these ladies listening are really finding that they're looking at their business and their life and they're just pushing and striving in there and they're just trying so hard and they've become frustrated? What would be the first step? Because it can be scary to let that go at first.
Yes.
Of saying, is there a way to step back and let things flow a little bit? Can this be easier? Can I take myself, but my business still move forward and I can still get clients? I can still make money.
Okay. So yes. And I totally want to acknowledge and honor how scary it is to release the grip of control. And because honestly, being in that masculine energy, when we were taught to compete, with men who that's their natural state and they do it very well. And we're also really good at it, but it takes much more energy to play at that level in that way than it does to integrate both and bring it forward. The first thing is drop everything. Drop the phone, drop the pen, and take a breath. Whoo! Breath. Take a deep breath into your belly. What that does, just in the simplest form, and you may think like, how is this going to get me clients? Hang with me. Taking that deep breath it sends a signal to your nervous system that you're safe. So a lot of times we're in our masculine energy we're motivated from pressure to get it done, stress, right? It's not from inspiration or pleasure that we're doing a lot of the things we're doing. We're doing it to get it done, pressure. And also that energy in our body sends our body into fight or flight. And so we're spending a lot of our days in fight or flight, cortisol running, and we're creating a lot of inflammation in our bodies. And when we're in that space, we're not as productive as we can be from a relaxed state. So taking a breath triggers your whole systems to calm down, and oxygen really, really helps that process. And the easiest slowdown that I love to give my clients is, and this is self-care at its foundational block level, 5 minutes of getting out in nature. Just if you do 5 minutes each day as a starter point, your mind might be thinking like, how is that going to make a difference? Well, you don't know until you try. And trust me, this is where I started too. And now I have like an integrated, beautiful, like self-care practice throughout the day. And it's still evolving. My God, it's still evolving. My default is always to come back to that, like overdoing. And then I get to that point of like, oh, I'm edging towards burnout. I'm like, okay, here I go again. It's okay. Love you. Forgive you. It's okay. Coming back. Gentle compassion. But that's a really powerful way for you to tune in and give yourself the space to take the whole picture in instead of just that laser focus, because the whole picture in that moment of surrender of looking at the sky or listening to the hummingbird fly around or, connecting with your feet into the earth, that's going to allow the blinders to come off and your awareness to open. And all of a sudden you'll think, oh, there was that woman I had to follow up with from a week ago. Oh my God, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder how I can help her. Right? Or all of a sudden you get this email, right, coming in. Well, it's because energetically you had the space to receive it.
So it kind of goes back to that energy you were talking about. And when it's big, it's full, things can come in, but if you're small, it can't, you don't have the capacity. And so if you're striving, and you're in that mode of, I have to push this through, is that equating it to being in that small little space?
Yeah, and it's not always, I don't want to speak in like total generalization or
Yeah.
absolutes here at all, but in the moment where you're just feeling frustrated, you're feeling like confused, and you're feeling like you're doing things and they're all of a sudden feeling super pointless. It's in that moment of, tension where you want to like step back and take a deeper look. Because if you think of it like, okay, well, if you're really thirsty, you haven't drank water all day, and you go and have a shot glass full of water, it's like, well, okay, that just was a little taster. Okay. But you need a bigger container for bigger water, right? So that you can drink more to replenish yourself. So if you're staying in this little shot glass and you're trying to like figure things out, by expanding your container, you allow more energy in. And when there's more energy and space around you, opportunities can come in, new connections can come in, new money can come in. But when we're so constricted and literally hunched over our computer, like our
Mm-hmm.
bodies do this, to take a step back and just like what am I feeling right now? Like, wow. And celebrate yourself. Like, man, that email I sent was really awesome. Nailed it. Cool. Or that conversation with that client, God, that thing that I said, wow, that was amazing. Celebrate yourself. Bring a little levity. It's not so serious.
Yeah, it can feel very serious when you have the pressure of, a lot of people in our community are in that place of needing support. They're struggling with the overwhelm, and that's why we really have come down to, who do we help? We help those who are struggling, and they just want to simplify everything,
Mm-hmm.
simplify life, simplify business, really make it as easy as possible on yourself. And I know in a little while we're going to talk about some marketing tips and stuff like that, because you and I had a great discussion about simplifying marketing.
Yes.
And
Ugh.
so, going back to the masculine and feminine energy, you had to just drop everything first and foremost. If they're feeling that they're in the masculine and they're just driving too hard and they need to come back a little bit, drop everything, take a deep breath, get out in nature for a few minutes. And then you said it was a practice every day.
Oh, yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning, do you start your day off with this practice of like a morning routine, and then just throughout the day, is that where your steps come in of like, okay, I'm just going to drop everything, take a deep breath, and get out into nature a little bit? Can you give us a
Mhm.
little bit of an idea of what it looks like for you?
Totally, totally. Okay, so I am a big fan of the philosophy of slight edge.
Yes. I
Yes,
love
Slight Edge. Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the
Jeff Olson.
author, Jeff Olson. Yeah.
Yes.
So that book and that philosophy is epic for changing your life in huge amounts, but in small bites. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have a whole list that I have on my whiteboard of Slight Edge things that I do every single day. One of them
Oh,
is a 15-minute beach walk.
that is so cool.
It's awesome because I would keep adding these in, and we have 24 hours. So it's easy to feel like, well, yeah, 15 minutes or like 5 minutes or reading 10 pages a day or, eating a salad once a day. Like those are some of mine. It's easy to pile them on, but if I don't see them in front of me, like I'm a systems girl too. Like I love playing linear and I love playing like intuitive too. Yeah, it's all about that balance, right? So like that checklist is super cool. So if there's like a couple different things that you're wanting to try on for size, maybe 5 minutes, like 5 minutes of nature time a day, start with that. That makes a huge difference. Trust me. And it really compounds. By the end of the week, you've spent 35 minutes outside, whereas usually you would have spent 0 or next to 0. So we were talking slight edge. Oh, routine. So I start my mornings. The very first thing is I get out of bed, I open my window, and I smell the fresh air. It presences me to the gift that this day is. Like, oh my gosh, I get another day to do this work. I'm so grateful for that. And even when I wake up in a cranky mood, it's like, oh man, I'm so grateful still to be here. Like I've got so much to really create on this planet. I'm so grateful to be here. Then I head to the gym. I work out every single morning. It allows me more than anything to get clear in my mind. It clears the way. Anything that got shifted and moved overnight gets cleared out, moving my body. I'm saying all kinds of gratitudes for my body while I'm moving my body. And that just gets my mind straight. And then the body, is like a bonus, like the body shifts that I've experienced over the past like 8 months of doing this. Awesome. I feel great, right? It just continues to get better. And then other things, so like kind of morning routine is, I meditate every morning. I do a quick, it's like 5 minutes. I get a lot done in that meditation. But I do 3 quick gratitudes. Usually it's like my body, my boyfriend, this amazing gym I get to work out in, like as an example. And then I actually practice the Ho'oponopono prayer and forgiveness practice. And I can, provide a quick little, it's the prayer itself is, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And it acts as a clearing of the slate. And so I do that every single morning with, people close to me or anyone that I had kind of tension with the day before. And it just allows it to, move the energy, clear it out. And I just get my day started like that. And then I do some other kind of quirky energy practices that I've learned along the way. But that's a way to really get myself grounded. So essentially, if you were to create your own morning practice, what lights you up? What is the thing that you love so much to do? I love dance parties. I will fit dance parties in the car. I will fit them in my bedroom, like wherever I can. I'm just like rolling the hips, like, yeah. Like it just, moves it. So what lights you up? And then also what will help you take one step closer to your goal in your business or your vision for your life? What is one small thing that you can do? If you start just with like one small thing you can do to get to your goal, what lights you up? Something that really gets you in that playful pleasure energy. And then also from what we said before was I just drew a blank on it. The 5 minutes in nature. If you start with those 3 and do that every single morning, you will create such a powerful foundation for your day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I like to hear everybody's morning routines because everybody's a little bit different,
Different.
And then there's, you and I don't have children, so that could look a little different if you have children.
Of course.
I was just speaking with someone who said, you know what? I'm just honestly not that great of a mom if I don't have that morning routine. So therefore I get up an hour earlier at 5 now to make sure that I set my day to give myself that time. And then when the kids get up, I can listen to them ask the same question 20 times in a row,
Right.
actually address that versus feeling frazzled and not being ready to take that on. So thank you for sharing
Totally. You're
the
so
morning
welcome.
routine and how to kind of get back into alignment throughout the day as well. Now, I have a question because this is, I've been studying a lot of flow and intuition and intention setting and vision and manifesting. And, it's something I've studied for a really long time and I've put it into my life, but I'm now starting to get into like the quantum physics of it and the neurological, and it's just so juicy and
yum. Yes.
So a lot of the stuff you're saying, I'm like, oh yes, now I know the science behind why this works, or why when your energy feels like this, it's a little bit confined if it feels like this,
Yeah.
on a different level. Okay. So what was my question though? Had a very important question. What if, because this happens every once in a while, I would love to get your opinion on what if you wake up and you do the morning routine, things seem to be fine, but you're kind of feeling like you're pushing in your business and you take a moment back and you take the deep breath and you walk of nature, but things are just not coming back into alignment. Is there ever a point in the day where you just call it quits and be like, all right, I'm just gonna have to start over tomorrow? What does that look like? Things don't come back into that feeling of flow or alignment.
Okay. So a couple things are popping in mind. One, ground yourself. Ground yourself, ground yourself, ground yourself. We spend a lot of time up here in mental land, upper mental. And when we're feeling emotionally exhausted from being up in that upper mental place, that's usually a sign that we've been out of our body too long. So that means we're just like not sensorily aware or sensually aware. And that's also leaving a lot of us behind in our decision making. So the easiest way to ground yourself is just focus in on like butt in the chair, feet on the ground, taking a deep breath, like feeling the air expand in your lungs, like tune into your senses for you to come back online with yourself. Okay, so that's one huge thing. If you're not in your body, you can't make solid decisions. You can make decisions from part of yourself, but they're not the full information. So the more that you can come back into your body, doing jumping jacks, doing some squats, like whatever can get you back into that body is going to be really crucial. If you're still at a point where you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, this sucks. So if you would have asked me that question a year ago, I would have said like, dude, take some time to you and I'll get there. I am actually going to say that. But also before you get there, you want to make sure that if you are stopping what you're doing, make sure that it's coming from an intention or an energy that'll help you look back on today from tomorrow and still be proud of what you chose instead of I give up, I quit. Because we tend to, in those moments of tension, quit on ourselves a lot. So what I just want to say to that is try taking an empowered step anyway, even if you're feeling off. That builds resilience. And maybe it's not making a sales call, but maybe it is making a soulful social media post. You know, just something small that can still get you in that forward momentum. And then you can also if you do decide to take some time to yourself, which is where I'm going next, if you do decide to choose that, you're choosing it from an empowered place. And that ends up, even if you think it's like, that doesn't matter, it does matter. The energy of that will carry into tomorrow. So it's not as big of a contrast to start again tomorrow from this I quit place and like, okay, back at it. But instead you're taking that empowered action and tomorrow's start becomes that much easier, right? When we close that gap. And also, if you are at a point where you're noticing you haven't had alone time in like 5 straight days, or you haven't done any exercise to move your body and you're really feeling it, or you haven't cooked yourself a fresh meal, right, in a really long time, taking time to nourish yourself and like self-care. There was one, so I'll tell you from last week, I had a really busy weekend. I was helping a friend go wedding dress shopping. It was so fun. I had such a blast. And also my weekends are usually for like very much downtime of like resting my body, hang out with my man, like we go on nature walks. And that was just a lot of like upward energy. Still fun, still filled up my tank, but I didn't have that nourishment. So going into the week, I was actually feeling as if it were Friday afternoon, like just that energy of like, I've used this week, I am spent. I was feeling that on Tuesday. And that was my flag of like, ooh. And I had a trip coming up that next weekend. And I'm like, if I knew this about myself, if I did not slow down and create time for myself right now, I am not going to enjoy that trip. And I'm going to be a bear to be around. I didn't want to show up that way. So I cleared my afternoon for Tuesday. And I also used Wednesday morning. It happened that was empty as well, to slow down. So I took naps. In the morning, I slept in a little bit. I went to the gym later and I just like lied in my bed and I journaled a little bit. And I watched this really amazing documentary thing on Netflix called Chef's Table. I don't know if you guys have ever seen
yes,
it.
love it.
It's so good. Yeah, I bet you love it. I bet you love that show. Oh my God. It inspires me to no end. So I just chose these really small things, very simple, but they filled up my tank. And I was back on it Wednesday afternoon. It was amazing what 24 hours had done. And then I was able to show up way more powerfully. So taking that downtime, give yourself permission to do that and also do it from an empowered stance.
And would you consider that feminine energy?
Yes.
Switching
Yes.
the feminine.
And so that's actually what I was feeling depletion of when I'm in my going and feeling dread over the next day, my days are filled with things I love to do. This is the life I've created for myself. This is the life I don't need a vacation from. I love what I spend my days doing. And if I'm looking at that next day of feeling like, oh, I have a call with an amazing woman, I'm like, whoa, like I've got to course correct over here, because that's actually not true for me at all. But my cup is so low. I need to fill up that cup through nourishment and slowing down and resting my body instead of just like blindly powering through, because you better believe I would definitely go on that trip, not enjoy it fully, and come back probably sick because I haven't actually slowed down to rest my body.
That was
So
a perfect
yes,
example. Perfect
totally.
example.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you apply this into your business in a way that carries you through? So let's say someone is really struggling with the fact that they need to make the money, and because once again, most of our followers are our community are really in that place of struggle. So would you say, okay, try it once, try it twice, implement it maybe once a week, and see if the money still flows, see if things still happen? Like, what is that small little step that they can take where they don't feel like I can't take all of today and tomorrow morning to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 15-minute cat naps are amazing. Oh my God. It is amazing how like 15 to 20 minutes of how different I feel popping out of that. And that fills up my energy so that I can show up the rest of the day. So it doesn't have to be like a whole morning. And also you deserve that too. So I want to be the voice of you deserve that. And it's okay to make space and time for that. I call them my crystallize your vision calls. These are my calls that I go deep with these women to create their vision for what they're doing. I require of them to make 90 minutes of uninterrupted time for this call. And if they're driving or if they're like, I will reschedule the call, because we need reminders that we need our time, we need our energy, and we need our presence and focus. We deserve that. Right. And I love being the stance for, being that voice of make the time. You won't regret it. You might have to work through some like stuff coming up, but like surrender the guilt, surrender the pressure, allow yourself to be for an hour. You deserve an hour. You can do an hour, right? And do it in a space and environment that really lights you up, turns you on, tunes you into what is really working for you in your life. Ocean is that for me, right? Getting down to the water. You deserve that, and you can do that. And also, if you've got 5 minutes, really allow yourself to tune in, close your eyes, and just set your timer for 5 minutes. Just breathe, like just be with yourself, appreciate yourself.
So it's quick wins.
Oh yeah, and
It
they
doesn't
really
have
do
to be.
compound.
Yeah.
Yep. Because especially, the high achieving mindset, the perfectionist mindset is like, go big or go home, like go for
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing. We're like, oh, we need to take a week vacation. Well, I can't do that. So screw it. No,
Yeah.
like in order for you to enjoy a full week vacation, why don't you start with enjoying 5 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I'm just checking to make sure that we don't have any comments lining up. Okay.
Cool.
I haven't asked for anyone to comment. So if you guys have any questions for Krystal, please leave them in the comments below. Just a little bit of a side note. And Krystal, I'll let you know if anybody comments or has
Cool.
specific questions over like the
Would
next
love
few
that.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring them. Yeah,
Yeah.
leverage this time together. I would love to
Yeah.
answer those.
So I would love to know, a little bit about your business and how long you've been doing this, how long you've had the business, and what's your number one tip when building your business? Because I feel like when other entrepreneurs see a successful business, they want to kind of know like what how do I get there? What am I doing wrong? And Get It Done Gals is really simplifying everything. So we like to get rid of any shoulds. We like to get rid of the things that aren't working, looking at things that like the slight edge, the little things that move you forward in a really powerful way. So what was that for you?
So what was that for me to
move your business forward? Well, first of all,
mm,
first part of the question, how long have you been in business?
I've been in business 3 years now, going
Okay.
on 4. This is my
Okay.
4th year.
Congratulations. We're right
Thank
about the
you.
same time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And so what do you feel like has been the biggest driver in moving your business forward and growing it and getting clients?
My biggest drivers, 2 things. One, aligning my business to my core values. I didn't want to create just another job for myself. So my core values are authentic connection. Like let's not, the weather's great, I know, but like what's going on in your
Yeah.
heart? Like, let's talk. Holistic health from all levels, financial health, romantic health, sexual health, friendship health, food health, my body. So from all angles, learning. I love learning. And I especially love learning things that really align with what lights me up. Right. And nature, love, freedom, time freedom, money freedom. Oh, yes. More, please. um, so once I got clear on my core values, I knew that that was my daily practice to make decisions in my business that were a yes to at least 4 of those. Anything less was probably me talking myself into it of I should,
Mm-hmm.
right? And every time I shoulded myself, I always had to clean that up later. And intuitively, I knew in the moment, but I was just too afraid to say that. So getting into that practice of only making decisions in my business, who I speak with, right? Like this was such a full on yes to talk with you, Nicole, and with your community, right? So I'm using that gauge every single time. There's plenty of invitations that I've gotten where I was a no to. And it's a not right now or a no for now. Thank you. So that's a really powerful thing. And then also asking for help. I realized very quickly that I was not going to be able to build this business by myself. And so putting my pride aside and showing up in my vulnerabilities of saying, hey, I need to make rent this month. Like, what can I do? Like, show me, help me see through this moment, because right now it's feeling really scary. And I know when I'm in that fear energy, it's working against me. Like I know this. And what do I do? So asking help from coaches, asking help from friends, aligning myself with entrepreneurs who have been there already, who get it, and who can also help see you through with their own experience, which is, experience that you lend this group, right? Of being able to show them the way. Like that's so huge.
Yeah. So what did you do to figure out your core values? There's so many different avenues, so
Totally.
what did you do?
So that actually, I got really clear on that with my very first life coach.
Uh-huh.
And that's actually, it was a year after my work and my corporate job started to feel off. I was resisting it. I was going in late. I'm like, I don't want to do this work. I was kind of like sitting back a little bit. And then even at my 70%, I realized I was still like blowing people out of the water with as far as like my 70% is people's 100%. It was weird. It was very strange. So I'm like, what is going on? And so I hired this coach and we got clear on my core values almost right off the bat. And then I was able to put my core values up against my job. I'm like, is there authentic connection? Like a little bit sometimes. Is there holistic health? I'm like, well, I'm sitting in a chair 8 hours a day in a gray cubicle. No windows. It was a converted warehouse. I wasn't seeing air. I wasn't moving my body. So, okay, no. Learning. I could learn if I wanted to in that job, but that basically meant that I would get more work and I didn't want to do more work. So no. Right. And nature and love and all these things, they didn't line up. They didn't match. And it just finally felt like relief. I'm like, oh, finally, I understand like what this feeling has been. Right. I finally got from a linear mind perspective why this wasn't working for me anymore.
And then made the shifts into
Yep. And then,
coach.
then
Mm-hmm.
that coach was actually calling me from Bali
Mm-hmm.
for our calls for like 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, okay, Jacob, like what's going on in Bali, because as these intuitive decisions come in and as the universe is kind of like, huh, over here, we see these reminders over and over again. And Bali was showing up everywhere. Oh my God, everywhere. And sure enough, my coach is in Bali. For me, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I was in the suburbs of Cleveland. I'm like, what would a girl from Cleveland, like the suburbs of Cleveland, do in Bali? I didn't even know where Bali was on the map. I had no idea. I still have trouble finding it. It's like so teeny. But he's like, you know, the people are amazing. And he starts telling me all of this, like it's really affordable and I can run my business from here. And I'm like, okay. And then a whole string of magic happened to get me there.
Stepping out in faith and the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It to the tune of like one-way ticket flying halfway around the world by yourself to a third world country where you don't know the language. I look back, I'm like, dude, I was such a badass. Like, oh my God, amazing.
It is amazing. Oh, well, I would love to hear what does your ideal client look like? You know, if someone listening to this is thinking to themselves, I want to learn more about masculine and feminine. I want to kind of step back and really step into the feminine versus just striving and pushing so hard. You know, what does it look like to work with you? What does that transformational change and journey look like? And where can we find you?
Awesome. So, you know, I think we mentioned it here, or maybe in our conversation before. I'm the creator of the Courage of Ease Blueprint. I named it the Courage of Ease because it really does take so much courage as a modern day woman to choose to bring more ease into your life in a world where like doing more, striving more is the thing that's valued the most, the thing that's respected the most. So it takes a lot of courage to explore ease as an option for your life. And so this Courage of Ease blueprint is a reflection of my journey, everything from our self-care mindset to sisterhood superpower, surrounding ourselves with powerful women, to exploring our pleasure and exploring feminine energy and allowing that to come into harmony with our masculine energy. So the whole blueprint is this powerful container for thinking of that energetic container. It's a powerful container for the work that I do with my clients. And so, you know, if you are a woman that's operating in your hyper masculine most of the time, and you feel that there's something off, but you don't know any other way, you know, you could be a woman that we could have a conversation around how to shift that. If you are in that going mode, giving to everyone else, like really over giving to everyone else, and your health is starting to show signs of it, of stress and strain and self-neglect of your own self-care, this could be powerful work for you. And then also, you know, what I was noticing from my journey myself was I was attracting all of these amazing, inspiring, powerful women, and none of them knew each other. They were still doing the lone wolf thing, the Miss Independent, I got it, but they were craving on a core level true sistership, sisterhood, soul sisters, like women that they could show up in their fullness no matter what they had going on, and they could handle it, they could hold it, they could be with you in it and see you through it. And so I took it upon myself to create a beautiful space for women to come together, high achieving, powerful women to come together, to relate, to commune, to heal together, to play together, to have fun together. And so, you know, there's different ways that I work with my clients one-on-one and in a group container. But there's so much healing that comes from, you know, being able to witness other women in exactly where they are, because we're so used to like, I got it, I'm good. But when a woman says, hey, I've got this issue going on, like, it's actually really scaring me. It's like, oh, that gives me permission to bring what I'm doing, what I'm going through forward. Right. So if you're a woman really craving that deep soul sisterhood, you know, this work could be powerful for you too.
Sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds like we should all sign up. I mean, why would you ever want to do this by yourself, you know, and keep struggling and feeling like you're just in that masculine? I can identify with that. I spent my 20s really striving, and it ended up in horrible adrenal fatigue. And, you know,
totally.
a lot of other issues. And, you know, I think that having that sisterhood and, you know, I'm one of those high achieving people who sits in the back and I'll deal with it. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to burden anybody. And the more I've learned to open up and to be vulnerable and to share with people, that's where I see that, you know what, I'm not alone here. And it's just another thing to get through. And here I get the tips and tools to support myself with that. And I can move forward. So for anyone, you know, if you guys have questions, leave comments or really connect with Krystal. What is your Instagram?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Krystal Brandt, Krystal Brandt. And you can also find me on Facebook, Krystal Brandt, same. And, you know, if you do want to connect more, I would love to gift your community the opportunity for that really powerful sacred conversation of the Krystallize Your Vision call. That is an opportunity to get clear on what it is that you're wanting to create specifically over the next year. Identify the challenges in the way, essentially getting really honest of like, why aren't I there yet, right? And then also creating those action steps to get you closer to that path. And so if you'd love to take me up on that and receive that gift from me, it's free for you. If there is alignment at the end of the call for some potential more work together, we can totally explore that. And honestly, the most important thing is that we really have a powerful, sacred soul sister conversation together to really vision where you're wanting to go. So if you want to take me up on that, feel free to direct message me, private message me on Facebook, Krystal Brandt, or on Instagram as well. You can find me there too.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Krystal. It's been so amazing to chat with you and have you here and all your amazing knowledge and just your beautiful smile.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for having me and creating this space for, you know, a lot of this wisdom to come through. I work very intuitively as well. So the things that came through today were really for your women, and thank you for creating space for them to really rise above, you know, the challenges and into their greatness. You as a female leader, like, we need more of you, and I'm so grateful for you stepping up to lead these women. It's very powerful work.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Nicole.